Jambo everyone, welcome to Fabz TV, Embassy Edition, and we normally have 3 seasons, and we have started with season 1. Season 1, which is we are featuring Embassy Edition, and we are featuring also the county government editions and success stories in tourism. And today we have a special guest who is with me in this show, and without forgetting our main sponsor of this show is from the exquisite group of companies which have 5 affiliates. That is Afrigem Safaris, which deals with African exclusive safaris. We have the Costa Season Trips, which deals with both locals and international, and we have Escapade Tribe for day trips, and without forgetting Upstar, which deals with exclusive luxury accommodation in Africa and beyond, and Ambrosial Hub, which deals with outside catering and decoration. So the Costa Season Fabz TV is connecting Africa to the world. We are featuring about culture, about Africa, trade, investment in Africa, and also we are featuring hidden gems in Africa. So before we start the show, let me welcome our special guest who will introduce himself, and then will tell us more about this beautiful country in Africa. Welcome.
Thank you, Fabz TV, and thank you for hosting me to this show. My name is Paul Mkumbya, Ambassador Paul Mkumbya. I'm the Consul General of Uganda, based in Mombasa. The Consulate General of Uganda was opened in the year 2015-2016. We take charge of the coastal counties, the 6 coastal counties of Kenya, which are Mombasa, Kwale, Kilifi, Taita Taveta, Tana River, and Lamu. Our core functions or activities here at the Kenya coast, of course, you know the strategic importance of Mombasa port to Uganda, the gateway for our imports and exports. So government of Uganda decided to open this Consulate General to take care of our strategic interests at the port of Mombasa. But not only that, we also take care of other interests of Uganda, especially in the areas of tourism promotion, investment promotion, and trade promotion. As you may know, these days diplomatic missions all over the world, but specifically for us in Uganda, the focus of our diplomatic missions abroad is no longer what we call political diplomacy, but it is what we call economic and commercial diplomacy. Okay. And economic and commercial diplomacy is nothing but promotion of tourism. In this case, we promote tourists from Kenya and beyond to Uganda. Promotion of trade, we find markets for our products to Kenya, the Kenya coast in this case. And investment, we want to attract the rich people in Kenya, specifically at the Kenya coast, and so that they take some of their money and invest it in Uganda. So that's basically what we do, but we also take care of consular interests of Ugandans living in the Kenya coast, and we do mobilization of the Ugandan diaspora here and mobilize them for development to take back some of the money they get here in Kenya and go and invest it in Uganda. So basically, in a nutshell, that's what we do, and that's why we are here.
Oh, thank you so much. So I'm Fabian Tinda, who is also the founder and the CEO of the COSE Group. So we'll be right back after commercial break.
Africa. Safari trip? Book your once-in-a-lifetime holiday experience with Afrigem Safaris. Amazing landscapes, stunning wildlife, Africa safaris, tropical beaches, vibrant cities, and a fascinating culture and people. The African continent has it all. And what's more, where most parts of the world have been visited by millions already, many parts of Africa are still uncharted territory. Think dust roads, internet-free zones, mud houses, traditional tribes, and miles of untamed nature. This makes the continent an adventurous place to travel to. At the same time, the national parks and lodges are completely up to date with delicious foods, comfortable beds, and Wi-Fi in Africa Safari with AfriGems. Safaris, therefore, is a once-in-a-lifetime holiday. Kenya especially is heaven on earth for nature lovers. See you soon. Let us show the rest of the world hidden gems in Africa through AfriGems Safaris. 54 countries, one continent awaiting you to explore.
Welcome to the show where we are giving the good vibes about Africa. We are also giving the world good vibes about Africa, because Africa has been tinted as a dark continent, which is not a dark continent according to me. And that is our aim of Fabz TV show. We are trying to give a good exposure, which many people out there, the mainstream media, they are not doing that. So welcome to the show, and I have couples of questions for Ambassador, and we want to get a certain information from you, why people should go to invest or to do trade or to do tourism in Uganda. So I'll start with the question. Uganda is a visa-free for Kenyans. What are the benefits of this incentive, and how has it positively impacted tourism in Uganda?
You know, Kenya is Uganda's biggest source market for tourism. In 2022, for example, over 150,000 Kenyans visited Uganda. So for us, the Kenyan market is very important, not only for tourism actually, but you also know that Kenya is our biggest trading partner. We also get a lot of investments from Kenya. So coming back to the issue of tourism, as I've indicated, Kenya is our biggest source market. So the fact that there is a visa-free regime, that is a very big facilitator or catalyst that makes it easier for Kenyans to travel to Uganda. Not only is it visa-free, but actually you don't need a passport. A Kenyan does not need a passport to visit Uganda. All the Kenyan needs is a national ID. Right. And with that national ID, a Kenyan will go to Uganda and stay for up to 6 months. So that is another very good positive promoter for tourists, Kenyan tourists to visit Uganda. But also in addition, as you know, air travel is very expensive, especially here in Africa. But because of proximity, a Kenyan can get onto a bus and travel to Uganda. A Kenyan can drive his or her car and travel to Uganda. A Kenyan can board and travel by air to Uganda. It's just about one hour from Nairobi or Mombasa to Uganda. So all of these are catalysts that really promote, encourage Kenyans to visit Uganda. And these are factors which we are also trying to build on to make sure that more Kenyans visit Uganda. For example, we now have direct flights, 3 direct flights from Mombasa to Uganda by Uganda Airlines. And the flight is just about 1 hour, 20 minutes. So all these are catalysts that are making it much more easier for Kenyans to visit Uganda. And for us, the Kenyan market, as I've indicated, is very important. And we are making every effort to make sure that more and more Kenyans visit Uganda.
Good. In comparison to other African countries, what unique tourist attraction does Uganda have to offer? What sets Uganda apart as must-visit destination?
Why, you know, we have one of the biggest things we are selling these days about Uganda are the mountain gorillas. Okay. And Uganda has the biggest population of these mountain gorillas in Africa, if not in the world. And everybody wants to see these mountain gorillas. You know that some people call these our cousins. And indeed,
and why is that?
because most of the characteristics that these primates have, they are almost they are very near to what us as human beings are. So the mountain gorillas are an item that we are promoting, not only to Kenya, but to Africa and the whole world. And that's why we are making it even much more easier for people to visit the mountains, the windy, impenetrable forest, and see these gorillas, mountain gorillas.
So that is the must visit.
That is something that one must see in Uganda.
All right. And what other?
Then too, we have the adventure tourism, the water rafting and whatever on the River Nile. That's in eastern Uganda.
Okay.
That's something that is those that love adventure. That's something that one must see. 3, this is a product which we promote a lot, the Kampala nightlife.
Oh. Yeah.
You know, they say that Kampala is the capital of nightlife in Africa.
All right. And why is that?
Oh, you know, Kampala doesn't go to sleep. The only time it went to sleep was during COVID.
Because of the
and
curfew.
that was not voluntary.
Because of the curfew.
Because of the curfew, because of the total lockdown actually. And this is something that really, the nightclubs, there are some of the products we sell like the Rolex. I don't know if you have heard about the Rolex, which is something that we eat out of chapati and maybe sometimes eggs and whatever. It's a combination, but it's something that is also an attraction. Okay. Then that's another interesting activity that we are saying. But also for Kenyans, it's the shopping, Kampala shopping. Kenyans love shopping in Kampala.
Oh, all right.
That's something we promote very much. We have the cultural tourism. You know, last year, I will talk about this later, but last year we as a Consulate here, we organized the tourism conference.
Okay.
After which we also organized the farm trip of selected tour operators and other stakeholders in the tourism sector to Uganda. And we took them to the Ndere Center. Ndere Center is in Kampala. But Ndere Center takes you around the whole of Uganda in terms of culture within just about 2 hours.
All right.
So for Kenyans, for those that went on that farm trip, they called this a national treasure. It was so interesting, it awed them. Then we have the religious tourism. I don't know if you have heard about the Uganda Matters Shrine in Namugongo. This is the only one of its kind. Not only in Uganda, but also in Africa, maybe. These are people, believers, who were killed, martyred by one of the kings of Uganda, and later they were proclaimed saints. So every year on the 3rd of June, we celebrate these Ugandan martyrs. And so many people all over the world travel to Uganda to take part in the celebration of the Ugandan martyrs. So this is another very big attraction. Actually, many Kenyans, some of them, especially those from Western Kenya, they actually do what we call a pilgrimage. And the pilgrimage is done by walking. Many people walk from within Uganda, but also from the neighboring countries up to Namugongo on the outskirts of Kampala to take part in this celebration of the Ugandan martyrs. We also have the Baha'i temple. This is the biggest temple of the Baha'i in Africa. This is also an attraction. We have the Chidepo National Park in Northeast Uganda. This was proclaimed by even CNN in the recent years as one of the must-visit places in Uganda. So all of these are very big attractions, which, by the way, are unique to Uganda. You won't find them in anywhere else. For the mountain gorillas, you may find a few of them in some of the neighboring countries, but also the cost of seeing these mountain gorillas for us, we charge, for East Africans, we call them as domestic tourists.
Okay.
It is only $80.
$80. And why Rwanda is very
I don't know about the other countries, let me talk about my country.
All right.
And for the international visitors, it is $700.
Okay.
Other countries charge more than double that in the region. So these are some of the unique attractions which really the visitor must go and see in Uganda, and which you won't find anywhere else.
Okay. Uganda is regarded as a pearl of Africa. What has the Ministry of Tourism done to capitalize on this?
Uganda is called the Pearl of Africa, and that name was given by Sir Winston Churchill, former British Prime Minister. And really, it is a pearl. What is, maybe you have said Ministry of Tourism, but I will say what has government of Uganda, what is government of Uganda doing to promote the Pearl of Africa? The first thing we are doing is that government is putting in a lot of resources to promote tourism in Uganda. And these resources are going to infrastructure development, especially working, for example, on the tourism roads, making sure that the tourism roads are accessible throughout the year, doing more training of people in the tourism sector, empowering the private sector, who are the key players, and providing an enabling environment for the private sector to promote tourism, facilitating us, the Uganda missions. Because the Uganda mission, the missions abroad, because they are out there in those source markets. So more and more resources, the missions are being facilitated a lot more to do tourism promotion. Not only tourism, but trade and investment promotion, as I said earlier. So all of these are efforts that are being deliberately undertaken by government, but also identify and promote new products, so that we don't have a limited products that we promote, but we also identify and promote new products. Products like even birding. Uganda is a very big source for those bird watchers. So all of these are deliberate efforts by government to promote the Pearl of Africa. And a lot of efforts are being done and very good progress is being made, especially during the recent years.
Okay.
Yes.
Are there any specific investment opportunities that Kenyans can explore within tourism sector in Uganda?
Yes, there are a number of tourism opportunities in the tourism sector. Not only Kenyans, but a lot of Kenyans can invest in this. We have, for example, sometimes during peak seasons in Uganda, we have some shortage of high-end tourism, lodges and accommodation, especially in the tourism sites outside of the country. Like, for example, in the Bilateral National Park, where we go to gorilla trekking. So we really still need many investors to build high-end lodges and accommodation facilities in these tourism facilities. We also want people who can operate tour and travel circuits, especially like on the waters of Uganda, like Lake Victoria. There's so much potential. I've been telling people on a number of occasions that, for example, if someone put up a luxury ship on cruise on Lake Victoria, I don't think one would satisfy the demand. Ugandans, generally East Africans, they love party. So if you put up a luxury cruise on Lake Victoria, even if it cruises from Uganda, comes to Kisumu and maybe goes to Mombasa, and it sets off on a Thursday and returns on Sunday, wow, I don't think we can satisfy the demand. So there are so many of these opportunities that we can talk about. I want to like development of faith-based tourism, such as pilgrimages to the Nambongo Mata Shrine, which I talked about, the Mahatma Gandhi Statue, and these other Baha'i temples. All these are we still need a lot of investments in these areas. We have a lot of opportunities in local air travel, domestic air travel. Because travel, as I said earlier, general air travel is expensive. But even domestic travel, regional travel is expensive, but even domestic air travel is still very expensive. For example, if you want to go from Entebbe to the mountain gorilla sites, you could pay over $400 on a domestic flight. But maybe this is because there is a short supply of this. So if we could provide more of domestic travel, then once there is favorable competition, then definitely the rates of air travel would go down. So these are some of the areas where we would really need more stopover facilities and route to the national parks, really where you can have a very beautiful sites for stopovers, maybe to have a cup of coffee, a drink, or all these are opportunities that are very much available for investment in our tourism sector. Yes.
Could you please elaborate on the incentive available for investors in tourism industry and how they contribute into fostering growth and development?
Yes, the incentives that we have in our tourism sector. Number one is when you import tourism-specific vehicles in Uganda, these are exempt. They are exempt from import duties. Okay. This is a very big attraction. So other things like hotel equipment, fixtures and furniture are also exempt. VAT is exempt on accommodation in tourist hotels and lodges located up country. Like when I've been talking about these high-end lodges and accommodation facilities. So once you are located in up-country tourism sites, you don't pay VAT on accommodation. And a lot of other facilities, washing machines, kitchenware, cookers, fridges, air conditioning systems, cutlery, television sets, carpets, furniture, linens and curtains. Once all these are imported and they are already labeled as belonging to an accommodation facility, they are all exempt from import duties.
Okay.
Yes.
How could you rank Uganda tourism sector within Africa? What strategies are being implemented to enhance Uganda's position as leading tourism destination?
As we said earlier, Uganda is the pearl of Africa. And if you rate it in terms of number, 1 being the lowest and 10 being the highest, I think we rank at about number 8 as a favorable tourism destination because of the so many attractions, unique attractions that I have talked about earlier. So government is making deliberate efforts to promote tourism. For example, the mountain gorillas, the numbers were really coming down, but over the years through the Uganda Wildlife Authority, which is in charge of the national parks, the numbers have been growing from about 300 in 1994 to over 1,000 currently. And this is not happening accidentally. These are deliberate efforts by government through the Uganda Wildlife Authority to increase the numbers. Because once the numbers increase, then we are able to sell more permits. Because it is not open-ended that we can sell as many permits as we can or as we want. The permits depend on the numbers. And the more the numbers grow, the more of these permits that are habituated because you don't just go and visit any family of these mountain gorillas. There is what we call habituation, so that they are able people to get accommodated when they are near people and they don't become aggressive. And so government is doing this. We are also fighting poaching in the national parks, and we also promote partnerships between the private sector and government. As I said earlier, our government is working on the infrastructure, especially the tourism roads. We are also promoting domestic tourism.
Okay.
Much as we promote regional and international tourism, but we also want to promote much more. And these days, the Ministry of Tourism is really making deliberate efforts to encourage Ugandans, more and more Ugandans, to visit the tourism sites in Uganda. So all these are efforts that government, through the Ministry of Tourism and the Uganda Tourism Board, but also the private sector, all this, it's a combined partnership to promote all this. Yes.
What are the key challenges currently facing tourism in Uganda, and how is the Ministry of Tourism addressing mitigating these challenges?
We've talked about the bit what we call challenges, really. Some of the challenges have been, promotion of tourism is very expensive. So government over the years has been increasing funding to the tourism sector, so that the Uganda Tourism Board, which is a government agency, and the ministry, but also as the missions, the Uganda missions abroad, in funding to these agencies has been growing over the years. Deliberate efforts by government to increase funding to all the government promotion agencies, including the Uganda missions abroad. As I said earlier, before, infrastructure in some of the tourism sites has been a very big challenge, but government is making deliberate efforts to make the tourism roads accessible throughout the year. This also has been a challenge. So all of these are challenges that government, the challenges, yes, the challenges are there, but government is making deliberate efforts to address and deal with these challenges.
Okay. Could you provide insights into how Uganda rich culture incorporated into the tourism sector? What incentives are being taken to promote cultural tourism?
Yes, cultural tourism, and Uganda has a very rich culture. We have over 60 tribes in Uganda, and all of these have got their own culture. And I told you about earlier the Ndere Cultural Center, which can showcase all the Ugandan culture at a one-stop center, if I may call it, within just about 2 hours. We have the traditional, what we call kingdoms. These previously, before the NRM government came to power, they had been outlawed, abolished by the previous governments. But when the NRM government came to power, they restored all these kingdoms. Now we have the Uganda Kingdom, we have the Bunyoro Kingdom, we have the Toro Kingdom, and chiefdoms, a lot of them. And these are deliberate government efforts to make sure that culture is promoted. The languages, our languages, they are being promoted. Many of them are being taught in schools, and the language is a very big component of culture. And government actually extends some funding to these kingdoms that I have talked about to enable them to function. But of course, they are not allowed to participate in politics. They are supposed to concentrate on their cultural roles, promoting culture. And as I've said, these are very rich cultures that really contribute to our tourism. We have, for example, near the Kampala city, which is the seat of the Uganda Kingdom, we have the Consul tombs.
Okay.
these are UNESCO acclaimed tourism sites. That's where the Uganda Kingdom, they bury their kings. You don't find it anywhere in the world. So these are really deliberate government and efforts to preserve culture and to promote cultural tourism. Yes.
Being a landlocked country, do you think that this geographic characteristic poses any challenge to tourism in Uganda? If so, how are the challenges overcome?
First of all, Uganda is not landlocked. Uganda is land-linked.
Okay.
Because for us, we have turned that, what you call a challenge, we have turned it into an opportunity. Because Uganda, for example, is in the center of the Great Lakes region and the East African community. That is a very big opportunity for us. It means that Kenyans can easily access Uganda, Tanzanians can easily access Uganda by air, by road, by sea. DRC, South Sudan, and even beyond. So being landlocked for us is no longer a challenge. After all, we have very close neighbors like Kenya and Tanzania that have access to the sea. So really being landlocked is not a challenge. We have turned it into an opportunity. We are using it to provide access to all other neighboring countries, not only for tourism, but even for trade and investment. For us, when we are talking about Uganda, we say that when you, for example, on investment, we say that when you invest in Uganda, you have easy access to a very big market within the region. You have access to Eastern DRC. You have access to South Sudan. You have access even to Kenya. You have access to Rwanda. You have access to Tanzania. How can that be a challenge? So really being landlocked is not a challenge. For us, it's an opportunity. And where we need access, we have very easy access to the sea because we have very cordial relations with our neighbors that have access to the sea.
All right. We often talk about 7 wonders of the world. What is your opinion of 7 wonders of Uganda?
7 wonders, you'll be shocked that I'll give you more than 7.
All right.
We have much more, we have the river Nile, which is the longest river. Isn't that a wonder? Together with the tourism that goes with it. We have the mountain gorillas, which we have talked about earlier, where we have the biggest population in the world, and they are bringing in a lot of much needed foreign exchange. We have the Lake Victoria, which is a very large freshwater lake. We have the Marchon Falls, which are very attractive for tourism. We have the snow-capped Rwenzori Mountain, a very big attraction. We have Lake Bunyonyi, which is the deepest crater lake. We have the Uganda Matters Shrine, which I talked about earlier, very big attraction. We have the Kasubi Tombs, which I've just talked about. We have the Baha'i Temple. I think I've already surpassed the number of 7, which you had said for me.
All right.
But we also have the warmth of the Ugandans.
The people.
The people. Everybody talks about how welcoming, how friendly, how warm the Ugandans are to a stranger, to everybody. So all these are really, for us they are wonders, but which we are trying really to take advantage of and promote tourism to Uganda.
Okay. As tourism sector in Uganda recovered from COVID-19 pandemic, could you share the measures and strategies strategies that were implemented to revive the industry?
Yes, Uganda tourism sector is on the road to recovery. We are not yet quite there at the pre-COVID numbers, but the government has undertaken, made deliberate efforts. For example, through the UDC, the Uganda Development Corporation, and the Uganda Development Bank, government has made available very low interest loans to a number of sectors to help them in recovery, including the tourism sector. So this is one deliberate effort that has been undertaken by government to help the sector recover. But also, as I've indicated, by and large, government is putting more money into the tourism sector. That one I've already mentioned, the Uganda Tourism Board, the Ministry of Tourism, with the missions. Government is deliberately putting more money in promotional activities by these government agencies. Government is supporting the private sector with all these exemptions which I've talked to you, although they existed even before COVID, but government has continued to provide these incentives for the domestic, but also for people who come in to invest, because the policies, the incentives have continued to exist. And all these are helping us to recover. Government also, we had just restarted the Uganda Airlines when COVID broke out. Okay. And the government has continued to support the Uganda Airlines because it's a very big promoter of tourism. A national carrier plays a very big role in tourism promotion, and government has continued to support this national carrier in order to promote tourism.
Who are the primary target clientele for the tourism sector in Uganda? In Africa, how is the Ministry of Tourism tailoring its effort to cater to the needs of preferences of this target group in Africa?
As I said earlier, for us, Kenya is the biggest source market. And we are really doing a lot of work to promote Uganda in Kenya. We even have what we call a main destination representative, MDR, for Africa, but he's based here in Kenya, in Nairobi, Mr. Anthony Ocheng.
Okay.
He's the one that takes care of all the African market, and that is specifically targeting Kenya, Ethiopia, Egypt, Nigeria, and South Africa. For us, those are very big source markets. And as I have told you, government has appointed a main destination representative, MDR, to promote Uganda in those big source markets. Of course, by and large, we are also making it easy for people to travel to Uganda, especially within Africa. Governments in Africa are in a conversation, and by and large, we are removing even visa requirements for many African countries. That's a deliberate effort by government. Even where the visas are not, we have made it easier to apply for the visas online. There are those that can be issued on arrival, but we have also, by and large, removed the visa requirements altogether. So these are also efforts that are geared towards promoting more arrivals from Africa. But the other thing that will contribute greatly to promotion of intra-Africa tourism is lowering the cost of air travel. And we are in these discussions to begin with here in the under the East African community, but also under the African Union to promote open skies. Because open skies contribute a lot to the promotion of tourism. Opening up the skies, lowering the cost of air travel, all of these are geared towards promoting the tourism, intra-Africa tourism, and deliberate efforts have been made, and we are seeing they're bearing fruit.
We would greatly appreciate it if you could provide more information on the current bilateral trade agreement between Kenya and Uganda, particularly as it relates to tourism and investment opportunities.
Thank you very much. Uganda, we don't have a tourism specific agreement, but we have a general framework agreement for cooperation between Uganda and Kenya under what we call the Joint Ministerial Commission. And this Joint Ministerial Commission is supposed to meet every after 2 years. And once we meet, it is led by the relevant ministers or ministries of foreign affairs. And when we meet, we discuss all matters of bilateral interest. The last time we met was in 2021. We met in Nairobi. And we covered a lot of areas in trade, in investment, in tourism, in security. And under this mechanism, we are also supposed to have what we call mid-term review. And we met in March in 2021. Then we met in Kampala for mid-term review in December. The momentum had really picked up, but you know what happened after that? COVID. COVID really slowed down a lot of our bilateral initiatives. But now we are already in consultations. Uganda is supposed to host the next meeting of the Joint Ministerial Commission, and we have tentatively indicated the month of August this year for this meeting to happen. So we think that this is the framework under which we cooperate. As I said, all areas of mutual bilateral interest are discussed therein, and we deal with all matters of mutual interest. But also we know that even at the highest level, you know, our bilateral relations, the bilateral relations between Uganda and Kenya are excellent. So even without these formal meetings, a lot of interactions go on between our political leaders, between our technical people, even between the private sectors in the two countries. And we are always meeting and talking about our bilateral relations, how to improve with them, how to deal with the challenges that they may exist, how to deal with the tariff and non-tariff barriers affecting our trade, and all matters of mutual interest.
Okay.
Yes.
Uganda boasts of an exciting wildlife experience. The country also has the endangered mountain gorillas. How has tourism benefited from this?
I think we have talked about this variously in the course of this interview. And as I said, as you have indicated also, it is an endangered species. But as I've told you earlier, government through the Uganda Wildlife Authority has been making deliberate efforts to increase the population of these endangered gorillas. We started around 94, we had a population of about 300. Now we have about 1,000. You can see that this is not accidental. These are deliberate efforts that are being made. Because as I have indicated also, this is a cash cow for us. Okay. It is a cash cow. Really, God gave us these creatures. We really are harnessing them, benefiting from them. For someone to pay $700 to go and see these creatures wherever they are in the forest, really we are not taking this for granted, and we are not leaving it to nature. So government is making deliberate efforts to make sure that we conserve and preserve these primates so that the numbers continue to grow. And as I said earlier, the more the numbers we get, the more numbers we are able to habituate, and then the more permits we are able to sell.
Thank you so much. We have come to our end of our show.
Maybe before we end our show, just allow me.
All right.
I want to talk about something which the Consulate is doing specifically to promote tourism between Uganda and the Kenya coast. As I said earlier, last year we organized the first ever tourism conference and exhibition between Uganda and the Kenya coast. And the concept that we came up with during that conference was that each of the two destinations has got unique products. The Kenya coast mainly has the beautiful beaches. In Uganda, we don't have such beautiful beaches. We have some things we call beaches, but they are not to the magnitude of the coastal beaches. So a lot of tourists, so many, not only foreigners, but even Kenyans themselves, they come from wherever they come, and they come to Mombasa, to Diani, to Malindi and Watamu to enjoy the beaches. You also get a lot of arrivals, international arrivals from Europe, America, Asia, and Africa to come and enjoy the beaches at the coast. So this is a unique product for the coast. Then in Uganda we have the mountain gorillas, we have the culture, we have the adventure tourism, we have the chimpanzees, and they are unique to Uganda. It will take a number of years, if ever, for Kenya to get mountain gorillas. So what we are promoting is complementarity. These products can complement one another. So much so that if someone comes to the coast, they have come 1, 2, 3 times, they have enjoyed the same beaches. And someone comes to Uganda to see the mountain gorillas and other unique products which I've talked about. Why don't we promote these products so that they are complementing each other? So that under one itinerary, someone comes to the Kenya coast and goes to Uganda to see the mountain gorillas, to see the chimpanzees, to enjoy the culture there. And then someone who comes to Uganda can also come on the same itinerary. They can come to the Kenya coast and enjoy the beaches.
Sure.
Really, there's no loss here. It's a win-win situation.
Win-win situation, right.
And we have been saying that tourism is the lowest hanging fruit. Whereas one needs more money to invest if you are to do trade, if you are to promote a new product, you need to invest in more money. If you are to open up a new investment, you have to put in more money. But if you are to bring in more tourists, you work with the infrastructure that you already have. You don't need to put in a new investment. Yet more money comes in. So this is the concept that we are promoting. And we organized that big conference here in Mombasa, which was attended by over 200 delegates. Yes, and then we brought in Ugandans here who attended the conference together with the Kenyan counterparts. After the conference, Ugandans went on a tour of the products at the coast. And then after that, we took a number of tour operators and other stakeholders in the tourism sector to Uganda on a farm trip.
Okay.
And we want people to experience these products before they begin marketing them.
That's true.
So that I normally call them the Google operators.
Yeah.
Someone goes on Google and tries to see where can I see gorillas in Uganda. And for example, among the tour operators we took to Uganda, there was one that was organizing a trip for high-end tourists from Kenya. And according to Mr. Google, for her, Entebbe airport was 5 minutes from Kampala. I don't know if you have been to Uganda and you have flown there. You know it takes about 1 hour.
Yes, yes.
So she was shocked that even with the lead car we had, it took us about 1 hour to travel from Entebbe to Kampala.
All right.
So this was really something that really opened up the eyes of so many. So last year we decided that this would be an annual event.
Okay.
So even this year we are organizing another conference.
All right.
To take place in November.
Oh, November.
Just before the East African Tourism Expo that will take place in Nairobi. We shall have our conference here on the 13th and 14th in Diani. Last year it was here in Mombasa. This year it's going to be in Diani. The same concept really.
Okay.
And what we did last year is what we are doing this year. After there will be tours here at the coast, and then we shall take again a number for a farm trip to Uganda. Really, for us, we take the Kenyan market very important. And the Kenyan market also, they take Uganda, because Uganda is the biggest, second biggest source market for tourists to Kenya. And Diani is one destination. Destination Diani has actually realized how important Uganda is.
Okay.
Because for them to get to an Ugandan wedding,
It's good money.
it's very good money. Because Ugandans can party for us. if a wedding of 200 descend on your hotel,
That's good.
that's very good business. And they say that if you can get 4 Ugandan weddings in a year, then you have broken even. The others will just be additional income. So Destination Diani is taking the Ugandan market very important. Recently they attended the Pearl of Africa Tourism Expo as a group. So these are initiatives which we as the Uganda Consulate are undertaking, and I thought I cannot miss this opportunity to market this initiative and invite all people that are watching this interview to really prepare to attend the second Uganda Kenya Coast conference, tourism conference that is scheduled to take place on 13th and 14th in Diani. The actual venue in Diani will be communicated in due course. But this is a very important activity that is really promoting tourism between Uganda and the Kenya Coast, particularly, but between Uganda and Kenya generally.
Yeah, on behalf of Fabz TV and our viewers, I really appreciate for your time out of your tight schedule. You have slotted us in and give us the opportunity for the viewers also to know more about Uganda. And I know after this show, a lot of viewers will see what they can do in Uganda, and that is also a plus for your market in terms of tourism, investment, trade, also culture. It's also a boost. So we really appreciate and thank you so much for your time, and I think we're gonna collaborate in future more and more. And in fact, in November you have something which is coming up. We can see what we can do through that and voice out more about Africa. As you know, Africa has been tilted as a dark continent, but I always disagree with that. There is a lot of potential about Africa, and as people they are saying, Africa is the future, and that is true. Africa is the future. We have what it takes. It's only us, Africa, we take that initiative and say, we need to push and let the world know more about Africa, the things which they don't know. We have a lot of hidden gems which are not explored. We have uncharted areas which are not explored. So it's up to us as Africa. You have taken that initiative, and I really appreciate so much for expounding several questions and give us that insights for our viewers who are in Africa and beyond Africa. So thank you so much, and we hope to do more. And for those people who want to sponsor this program in future, there is a number below the screen. We can collaborate and we can also work on the sponsorship. So it is a high time for Africa. We sell it the way it's supposed to be sold and show the world how beautiful Africa is, a beautiful destination. So for now, let's pause from here, and we hope to see you and give you more insights to the next country which will be featuring. Thank you so much.